Welcome back to Round of the Bases Extra Innings with Deliece Hofen. Hope you'll check out the audio version of our podcast wherever you get your podcast. That's where you should start, but we've got 4 fun questions. Some will be serious, some will be fun. So we'll start with this because, you know, you're raising millions of dollars to help research childhood cancer. So I didn't expect to be asking a question about barrel racing, but that apparently is something that you did on a regular basis as a child. Tell me about that.
I did. So I actually grew up showing quarter horses. That was my entire life. And so barrel racing was definitely a part and piece of what I used to do. It was awesome.
A big part of you. I assume those days are over, or I don't know. You ever still get out there and ride a little bit? Or?
Well, I tell you what, if I had a horse, I'd do it again. So I would definitely be back out there running it again. It's just I don't have a horse, although I keep asking for one for my birthday and for Christmas every year. So if you ask Braden or my other son, Zach, if anybody ever asks them, what do you want for Christmas? Example, my husband, if he ever asks, the first thing they're supposed to say is a horse. And I've yet to get the horse, but I'm going to keep asking.
Keep asking. By the way, if your husband's watching, he should if he's a good husband. Here's another plug to get Deliece a horse. All right, second question. You talked in the audio version of the podcast about being a teacher and an administrator in your previous life. And I've always said, you know, teachers are the biggest heroes. They're underpaid. We know all of this. My wife was a longtime speech pathologist, and so I always put her in that category as well because she had to have the patience with kids. She was working in the schools and underpaid. That's pretty much the case for just about everyone. And I'm just wondering how much that helped you along the way with this journey, because that takes a lot of patience. This was obviously a different level. This was life and death. But how much did being a teacher prepare you for the second life?
I think that it prepared me in a lot of different ways. It's been surprising to me how many things transfer over into the nonprofit world that I learned from the education world. First of all, the great thing is that the main reason that I was in education was because I love the kids. That's why. And so I still get to keep that, right? I still get to hug kids and see kids and learn about them and be part of their lives, which is really a very good deal. I think that probably the biggest thing that I have learned through education is that you always need to try to meet people where they are. So if somebody's having trouble with reading, you got to figure out what it is that they're doing and what the problems are and where the errors are, and then how do you correct that, right? So I think that meeting people where they are is just an overall umbrella of like a life mindset, right? You've got to meet people where they are, and then you learn from that, and then you figure out how to grow together. So I think that's maybe one of the biggest mindset ways.
Yep, makes total sense. And you were working with middle school kids too, right?
When I came to Blue Valley, my very first year at Blue Valley, I was an assistant middle school principal and had never, I taught in elementary and I wanted to be an elementary principal. But I started as an assistant middle school principal and I was also the athletic director, not an athletic person. I'm not an athletic person. I had to learn what a lane was for basketball. Wow, that's interesting, huh? It was really a fun experience. And I will tell you that middle school kids really are no different than elementary school kids. They just have hormones. It's the same problems for middle school kids as it is for elementary kids.
Yeah. But there's that, they're the hormones. So there's that. So yes. we're past that, but I don't miss the middle school days for sure. Well, I miss the elementary school days. We'll say it like that. All right. Third question. As we round the bases, I want to delve a little bit more into the numbers that we talked about in the audio version of this podcast and how underfunded childhood cancer research is. And I was curious too. I mean, you talked about 4 new drugs developed for childhood cancer since 1980. We had on recently an incredible guest, Dr. Jensen from Cancer Institute, Cancer Center. They just got a big designation now. One of 6 childhood cancer institutes in the U.S. with its own drug development center. They're ranked number 2 in the nation. And so you have that in your backyard. I mean, he was telling us that in the past 10 years, 50 new leukemia drugs have been introduced. So that really speaks to everything that you said. But I'm wondering, having them right here in your backyard, how much that has helped and how much of a voice you feel like you have.
Well, first of all, I will tell you that I think that Dr. Johnson is amazing. Also, yeah. He's terrific, as is Dr. Curran from down at Children's Mercy. And I think that it definitely is an advantage to us here in Kansas City to have KU Cancer Center, especially with that new NCI designation. That's going to help to bring in a lot of additional high quality doctors and researchers. And it's the same way with the CMRI down at Children's Mercy. It's going to help us to attract and retain some of the best talent from around the nation. So I think that really helps to bring us to a new level. I think that Kansas City is probably a fairly hidden secret gem for so many people about what we really truly have available to us here. I mean, really here in Kansas City with the childhood cancer world, we've got Children's Mercy, which is an outstanding place, but the Children's Mercy Research Institute is a huge advantage to us. Now we have the latest and greatest research tools available to our researchers. We've got KU with that drug development center, which is huge because we can now start doing some drug development work that big pharmaceutical industries, frankly, are not interested in because it's not profitable for them. We've got their KU's cancer, comprehensive cancer designation, which is another great big thing to us. So I think that we're going to see some things here in Kansas City very soon that people are going to be paying attention to and saying, wow, wait a minute, we didn't know you had all of that packaged together in one place. And we're right here in the center of the United States.
A very well-kept secret, and one that I know that so many people are proud of. So a lot of hope there. That leads me to my walk-off. The last question. You're the author of the book, Take That Cancer, A Mother and Son's Journey to Hope. You've lived it. You've been through it, not just yourself as a cancer survivor yourself, but as the mother of a cancer survivor. So you've seen it all. And, there are a lot of people you get the chance to meet and inspire so many families that are in the middle of it, as you were at one point. What do you tell people? I mean, I love to ask this question. I hate to ask it, but I love to ask it because I do think that everybody can always use some hope, some inspiration, even if they're not battling a life-threatening disease, right? I mean, maybe it's mental health, maybe it's whatever it is. I mean, everybody's always going through something. That's what I tell people all the time. Even someone that looks like they've got no issues. We all have issues. What do you tell someone that's down and out?
I think the biggest thing for me when we were going through this, and the biggest thing that I hear from parents, is that you have to believe that there will be something better down the road at some point. And that for me is what hope is all about. Hope is about believing that we can make something better and that things are going to get better. And when you're going through that journey, it's a positivity piece with your mindset, right? You've got to, yes, you're going to have bad days. Yes, you're going to have rough moments. I mean, we all do, but the belief that, listen, if we can hold on for right now, then, eventually we're going to get to a better place. So I think the biggest thing that I always take people is take where you are right now. Honor where you are right now. It's okay. My mom, when we lived in the country showing horses, right? So you would get cuts all the time. And when it's dirty and gross and you're in the barn with all sorts of nasty stuff, the first thing she would say is just let it bleed. That will help to clean and wash out the wound. It's the same way with people. If we honor that deep, dark sadness piece, if we accept that, if we embrace it, if we live through it, if we breathe through it, if we honor the negative, as people would perceive emotions, it helps us to be able to have a mindset to come out on the other side. I think the problem that we have is when we try to squish all that down, and I shouldn't feel bad, I shouldn't feel angry, I shouldn't feel upset, when we try to push all of that down, it makes it really hard to have a mindset to get you through to the end. So by honoring that and letting it bleed a little bit and letting it wash out, and then pulling yourself together and saying, okay, what's the path to forward? What do we do from here to move to the next step? And just taking it one single step at a time, That's the hope. It's the hope is the next step. And it looks very different for every different family, because if you've got a child that's got a terminal illness, that hope is a very different kind of perspective than it is with a child who is going through treatment that maybe doesn't have that type of a diagnosis.
It's finding those little victories, the little something to hang on to and push to the next day and the next day, and seeing where that takes you. And it's I know a long and oftentimes painful journey, but one that, and I think that the word that you use over and over again, and rightfully so and understandably so, is the word of hope, and finding hope in those little things, something that you have done for many, many years personally and with Braden's Hope. Again, bradenshope.org. Deliece, thank you so much. This will be running in early December, so holiday season coming up, which I know could be a tough time as well for so many people that are battling in oftentimes situations of life and death. And so, want to think about that and hopefully bring some joy to those that are down and out during the holiday season. And I hope that some of your words will bring some of that inspiration as well. Thanks so much for sharing your journey, Braden's journey, and the story of Braden's Hope with us.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me to come be a part of this. I appreciate it.